What's good, everybody? It's someone, a global hip hop treasure and certified Michelin starred yapper from Chicago, Illinois, and you are listening to the Cabbages podcast.
Yeah, what up? This is Optiks, Brooklyn-based, Cincinnati-born producer for someone, amongst others, and you are listening to the Cabbages podcast.
Hey there, Jeff.
Is Naomi a good dancer? Is she good?
Wait, hold on.
Like, is she a good dancer though?
Hold on. We're not
I
there
know we're
yet.
supposed to suspend this one, but she good.
We're not there yet. It's
Hmm.
way too soon.
Hmm.
Let's curb that. It's good to be back.
Do you
Good to
think
be
that's
talking.
really what Vegas is like for people?
Again, I think this is a lot to unpack here, and I think that we should kind of approach with caution.
Do you think this is
before
better or worse than Hollow Man?
Okay, so Verhoeven's filmography is definitely a topic for discussion on this episode. He's obviously behind some of my favorite movies of all time. So let's just wait. I'm cautioning. I'm hoping we can exercise a little restraint in this moment. We've got some great guests to talk about this. We're talking about
Can
Showgirls
Crystal
today.
see into the future?
I don't even know how to answer that. We've got Psalm One on with us today. We've got Optiks as well. Like they've got a great album recently dropped. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. Can't wait to hear for you guys to hear what they have to say. I can't wait to hear what they're gonna have to say about this. Let's not go down these roads. Let's do this with our guests. What do you say, Jeff?
You think she's a smart person, Naomi? You think she's smart, or is it? Are we to believe that she's just sort of a rube, or is she smart? Is she a good? Is she any good at dance? Is she a good dancer? That's the big question. Is she a good dancer?
We'll be right back. All right, we have some excellent guests on today's show. Joining us now are Psalm One and Optiks. The rapper, author, and New York-based producer have worked together on projects like Flight of the Wig and Before They Stop Us. And sure enough, they've teamed up again for this year's Is This a Safe Space? Question mark. Available on Bandcamp or wherever music is streamed or sold. Again, we're so excited to have you guys on here. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening.
What up? What up? Thanks for having us.
And I just want to make clear that this is indeed a safe space to discuss the movie Showgirls.
Yes, because
Gotta be for this one.
because that nothing in that movie was a safe space. Not
No.
one thing.
No one was ever in a safe space at any point throughout the duration of the film. Nobody was ever safe.
At all.
Not a one. There's so much we can talk about, and we will talk about over the course of this conversation. But I think the baseline to start with is what have you had either of you seen this before? Kind of what's your previous experiences with this movie?
I saw this when it came out, probably. Might have snuck in a theater to see it.
I heard they had extra staff in theaters to prevent that from happening. So good job.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I feel like because I wasn't old enough. It was a big deal that it was kind of like rated R, but then NC-17, and so yeah.
Just to clear it up too, there's multiple versions.
Mhm.
There's the NC-17 version that was
Yeah.
released in theaters,
Mhm.
and then to get it onto video in certain places and to get it onto HBO, they had to put out an R version too, which
That
cut out
cut a
the
few
most
scenes.
extreme stuff.
But
Yeah.
you saw it theatrically. You saw it in the theaters.
I definitely saw it in the theaters,
Awesome.
and I was a budding bisexual at that point, so I was like, whoa, 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 like, and one of the
Better
leads,
not awaken
Gina,
anything in me.
yeah, Gina Gershon's name was Crystal,
That's
so the
Got
1-2
it.
punch of like just homoeroticism that's off the charts. Crystal's one of the names. I'm just like, I'm losing my mind watching this movie, but it's When I saw it again, maybe a few years ago, just as a funny, like, you know what I'm gonna watch? Let's watch Showgirls. And it was just like, yeah, it's so bad, Like I think it was more of my uh being a young person and my curiosity and just having it be so edgy. And then of course I'm sure we'll get into it, Elizabeth Berkley off of fucking Saved by the Bell being like, I'm a grown woman now, I do what I want. Like that's basically what that whole role gives. So I think being all that together made it be so much more intriguing. Now it's intriguing because it's so bad. It's like so camp and so bad. It's like, what the hell?
I was 14 when this thing came
You were
out, and
14?
Yeah.
I was a Saved by the Bell obsessed human being.
Did you
And
watch California Dreaming too?
absolutely, are you kidding
Okay,
me?
we're on the
I've
same
I've had a
page.
little too much to dream, okay?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
man.
loved I loved all that stuff. There was like Hang Time was in there too. They made like a whole little small cottage industry on Saturday mornings with just these awful campy shows, and I was addicted to all of them.
I loved them all.
Absolutely. And the only reason I desired to see Showgirls was the promise of a pre-internet, you can get whatever you want whenever you want world for me. Uh, the promise of a cast member from Saved by the Bell
Nude.
shown it all, given every bit of it to us.
You
And
would have had
just
to like raid like a Playboy, and they had like
Absolutely.
that feature in Playboy that used I don't know like how long they landed for, but it was like nudity at the movies was something you would find in Playboy. So I would find out about like weird art house films from Spain.
That may or may
Jamon
not be how
Jamon.
I found out about the film, is that I read it in Playboy and was
It's
like, oh shit. Jesse Spano for real?
for
Yeah,
real.
for real.
All right, Optics. What about you? What's your experience with this movie?
So I remember, so I was 10 when this came out.
Okay.
But I remember, so as this movie, it's bad, but what is iconic, I feel like the cover, the like poster, her with the jacket slit and like you see her leg and everything all the way up. Like it's an iconic poster. So
Absolutely.
I remember that and just being like, I watched Saved by the Bell. I wouldn't say I was like, I don't know if I consistently watched it. I can't even really remember. But like I knew who Jesse Spano was, so I definitely wanted to see it for that reason, but I feel like I didn't actually see it till years later when we had access to the internet and everything and I watched it and I was just like, this okay, cool, like it didn't by the time I actually saw it, it didn't the kind of edginess almost didn't land because there was more accessible to us. And I was probably like 18, 19, something like that. I'm
Well,
not
I
sure.
have to thank you for doing this episode with us, both of you, because this was my first time watching Showgirls.
oh my God. Sorry.
I've known it by reputation, obviously, for years. I
Sure.
was someone
Yeah.
to, I would not say I was obsessed with Saved by the Bell, but I watched so much of it, so much of
I
it.
mean, it was geared towards, us being obsessed and
So
watching so much.
Absolutely.
exactly. So this movie comes out. I'm 16. I'm 16 when this movie comes out, and so like I'm not getting in. I saw a lot of movies I shouldn't have seen when I was 16. A lot of things I saw in the
Yeah.
theaters or otherwise, but this was not one that I was able to. Optics. You mentioned before about them having some staff in there, and that was mainly because they were trying to maintain some box office rather than to keep the kids out.
Yeah.
Although Joe Esterhaus did tell teens to sneak in, which was part of the thing, and he has his reasons. I think we'll get into talk
I
about
did
Joe
my
Esterhaus.
Yeah, they
Wikipedia.
couldn't.
I did my deep dive on the movie after I watched
Yeah,
it. I watched it yesterday, actually.
yeah, yeah,
I worked from home while I was working, so
yeah.
not safe for work, but you work from home. It's all good.
It's all right.
Exactly.
Yeah, all
Well,
bets are off.
yeah. So what we typically do is we watch these episodes. We watch for each of these episodes. We watch the movie twice. We don't watch them separately, so we text each other during it. And usually I watch it one time stoned and one time sober, just to kind of get the experience. This time I watched them stoned both times. I made
Probably a
an
good idea.
exception for this because I realized after the first watch that there was not going to be like a greater joy derived from watching this film.
No,
By
no,
being
that's
able
its
to
charm.
understand everything.
That's the
Like,
most charming part of it.
It's like, well, okay, that happened.
yeah. And
We
so
get
much
it.
of that happens. I have to give a lot of credit to director Paul Verhoeven, who I was, again, this is a blind spot for me, but I was a big fan of a lot of his other films. I saw pretty much everything that happened around this movie. I'd seen, Basic Instinct, RoboCop, Total Recall, tons of times, Starship Troopers. I was definitely somebody who watched a lot of these films. And so, but this
His
one
run
was,
from RoboCop to Showgirls rivals almost any other director for a five,
I
maybe six movie run.
you could probably say from 87's RoboCop to what
Yeah.
2000's Hollow Man, he
Yeah.
basically had
Yeah.
like an insane run of films.
Slappers only.
Yeah,
Like
for
just
sure.
and he made some big swings and he picked some risky stuff in places, but he had more hits than misses and we
Hollow
still
Man
talk
is
about his
fucked
movies.
up.
Oh, that's a crazy
That is
movie.
a
Yeah.
fucked up movie. We're not going to get into it here
We're not
because
talking about Hollow Man
there's
because
two
there's
and a
too
half hours of
much.
Showgirls to talk about.
Too
We haven't
much.
even gotten to any of the most key and incredible parts.
And that was the first thing about this movie that really got to me was I didn't realize how long it was. I expected it to be like 90 minutes,
Nah.
based on subject
He
matter.
said,
No,
No,
this
you're
is
in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
this is Odysseus. This is a journey.
He's like, they gave me the budget. Okay, so
Yeah.
We making all the film I feel like making.
Like this is a screenplay that sold for a total of $3.7 million. So like they were gonna film as much as they were gonna film. This is like the
yeah, and this is in the
only
90s.
real in the 90s, $3.7 million. Like think about what that means. That means
Mhm.
those people don't have to that Joe Esterhaus didn't have to make another movie after that
Ezra
if
House
he didn't
didn't
want
write the
to.
music, the like he wrote the dialogue, obviously.
Yeah.
But
And the
who wrote
story
do you know who wrote the songs in it?
well, the original stuff is supposed to be I believe at least some of it is Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics. So there's
Ah,
some of that in there, including we're not talking about this scene just yet, but the rape scene in the film is scored by Dave Stewart. That's in the credits of the film as well. So like
yeah,
there's
trigger
that
warning, the denouement of this film is a real kicker.
it's just
Literally and figuratively.
the thing about that is that up until that point you're watching this wild ride, this soap opera, and it's pure as to use your words, Crystal, camp. Um,
Yeah.
it's camp and camp from the very beginning, from the very opening scene. And Crystal, obviously, you sharing a name with one of the characters in this film
Yeah.
is delightful. But you're not the only person on this call who shares a name with a character in this film, and that's my co-host Jeff. Jeff, right here, was immediately jarred, I'm sure, when the Elvis type trucker who picks up our hero Nomi, Elizabeth Berkley at the start, is named Jeff. How does
Your
that feel for
fault.
you? How's that feel for you?
Not great.
Do you feel
Listen,
seen?
Jeff, this Jeff is a wild exception to the normal Jeff rule.
Is
The
it?
Jeffs are really cool.
Hmm.
Generally, we like Jeffs. That Jeff was a bad Jeff.
All right.
Don't
Have
hold
you
the
guys?
rest of us Jeffs accountable on this.
I don't know.
one.
Have you guys had good experiences with Jeffs generally in life?
I'm
Yeah.
trying to think how many Jeffs I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I
We
grew up with some Jeffs.
Okay.
They were all like pretty even
Yeah.
keel guys.
listen. We like to blend
The
into
last
the
Jeff of my
background.
life,
Yeah,
the main
yeah.
guy I worked with, cool guy named Jeff.
Okay. So
I
cool
love
guys.
Jeffrey Osborne. I've actually seen him in concert.
Oh, I
So
would love that.
in Vegas too, but that's another
Mm.
Was
story.
this during the phase that he wouldn't do the big hit?
Yeah, he's like, but he was on Bill with anyway. There's a lot of sinners, but anyway, yeah. But he sang good though. He still
Oh,
got
he's
it.
got an incredible voice.
Still.
So we started off at a great moment just by having that confluence of Jeff and I are watching this again remotely, and we're just like,
Just
okay, this is happening
immediately.
already. I'm like, I'm locked in. I'm seated. I'm seated for this. And there's so many ways into this film, but you start there. She goes to Vegas, and you were then from the moment that she meets Jeff, you were met with just this incredible cast of just like sleazoids, for lack of a better term, just the sleaziest human
This is a
being.
sleazy ass movie. People are sleazing all over the place.
I
Can
made
I
a
just
list. Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
go.
No, go ahead.
She could just hitchhike hey, like to another
Immediately.
city, get a job, leave her shit in the front seat on the strip because they just park on the strip while she proceeds to hit the jackpot on her very first slot machine.
Mhm.
I was just immediately just LMAO, like, okay, girl.
There's
So just the
That's so
character
weird.
arc that we have
Yeah, sure.
from the start, we go from I will cut your throat while you're driving
Hmm.
to I will leave my suitcase in your car while you disappear from my sight within hours. We go,
Admittedly, though, they have been in the car for a very long time. If you remember the signage when she was hitching,
there's
it's like
hundreds of miles.
three hundred
Yeah,
forty two miles or something of that
That's
extent.
a
Like,
yeah.
while.
that's a
That's a
long
while.
time to be in a car with Jeff. That's
Seven
for sure.
hours, 7, 8 hours.
A
That's
long
and
time
Jeff
with
was
Jeff.
extra. There are a lot of
Yeah.
extra folks in this.
Wait,
And,
Man.
and we
I
see
feel
so
like
little. We see so little of their time together. All we know is that they disagree on music, basically.
mm,
And what again on a soundtrack note with this is this movie I immediately knew that I was watching a fantasy because when she changes the station and the song that's playing is the Sisters of Mercy's Vision thing, I'm like, no radio
No
station
radio station.
ever is playing the full version of Vision thing. It's just
No.
not happening, people. So now I know I'm in a fantasy world.
Pretty much.
That's how you figured it out.
Oh,
Yeah, you're like,
immediately. I mean,
oh.
I knew. Okay, it's a fantasy. No, I just knew at that point.
so after I watched this, I did a little Wikipedia deep dive. Something that was said, there's a cult following of this movie, and a lot of people believe that this movie is intentionally satire.
Yeah, satirical.
And I'm like, I don't know.
I just don't know any of the worlds they're satiring.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem. If they're
Vegas
satiring, I
is,
don't know what it is.
it's like this is already a fantasy. It's Vegas.
Right.
It's Showgirls. It's I'm in a show. I'm in a Vegas show. It's already supposed to be like this isn't the real world.
I think that
Yeah.
if I read it correctly, I probably did the same amount of deep dive that you did, Chris. So, in a way, I think this was kind of meant to be a full musical.
Hmm.
Mm.
There are a lot of musical numbers. There's a ton of dances, dancing scenes, one-on-one, big groups, small. I mean, like a lot of people are dancing. There's also erotic dancing going on. There was a dance that was also sex, I think, at some point. It's a lot of dancing and a lot of singing. And I think that the movie wanted to be a musical in a way.
I'd take that more than satire.
Then they couldn't
Exactly.
sing though. Their main, Elizabeth Berkley, I bet she can't sing.
I don't.
I
Think
don't know. I mean, she did the I'm so excited in the pill episode that
Ah,
that was pretty good. She sounded pretty good right there.
Classic.
She kind of crushed that. I'm so excited.
She really did
Shout
draw
out to
from that
Pointer
episode.
Sisters.
She drew from that episode. No question for
Absolutely.
this character. The manic energy of Elizabeth Berkley's Nomi, which we really
Same
do
energy.
capture.
Same energy.
Same energy. We really do
Can we-
capture that in a beautiful sense when she meets Molly and takes her out for some food after her stuff has been stolen.
Mhm.
And like the way she is, fries are flying. I saw ketchup squirt out on the screen. And I mean that's cinematography there. That's just movie making at its best. It's just seeing the squirt.
Nomi does
of
not
ketchup.
like to be in tough situations.
No.
And the panic level of Nomi in this film consistently over the top. Anytime there's any kind of panic, the relationship has to end immediately. This person
yeah.
is helping her and just bought her food, and what did she screams something at her and throws her food?
Different places.
Just insane.
She's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
where did you come from? Where have you lived before?" And she's like, "Get it!"
It's like, what the
like,
fuck,
yo, first and foremost, this person is like saving your life.
Yeah, it's like I'm taking you home, G. Like you can come on.
And if you know enough about the character later to know that she's been a sex worker in the past,
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
you're like, yo, listen, you got to take, you got to take nicest wherever you can find it right now, or the next step.
She's a fucking liar, liar, pants on fire the whole time, bro.
Yeah.
Big liar.
There's
How did she
nothing
get
about
paid
that.
if she gave them a fake social security number? How did she get paid?
You're asking a lot of questions about
Fair enough.
about what I'm getting. Saying it's a
I'm mad at
fantasy.
the payroll in this movie, and this was before the era
Yeah,
of
none of
HR. You
this-
couldn't even complain.
The HR scene in this movie that shows up, I'm like, I already know how absurd this is. Like, this is from people who don't understand what HR people do.
They don't
Like
even know.
the background check, whatever. It's just it's
Yeah,
like it's such
background check.
nonsense.
Background
It's such
check.
like I sat there and I watched it
That's
with
what
my
they're
wife.
calling it. Wink, wink.
They're checking
Background
they're
check.
checking out her background. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
all right. Yeah.
Hey, it's really just like, oh, we're supposed to take this as seriously. No, we're watching a fantasy. And I think to go back to your point, optics about kind of is this people are interpreting this as a satire. Joe Esterhaus, the screenwriter behind this movie, who had also worked with Verhoeven on Basic Instinct, and was also the screenwriter of another movie we talked about
Another
on this.
Awuga movie.
Yeah, another movie we talked about on this show previously, Sliver. He's the screenwriter on that as well. So he's got some, and then Jade just to top it off as well with David Caruso.
How did it end up that he ended up being the guy that wrote like these steamy jams?
He had history with it. This was his guy. He became basically.
He's just had a lot of sex.
Basic,
What do you mean?
basic. I mean, he seems like that kind of guy. The more in terms of my deep diving, I went into and read some of his memoir from the 2000s, Hollywood Animal, and Joe Estes' memoir has a lot of information that I will convey as much as I can during the course of this conversation. But he saw this, and this is from his book. He saw this movie as kind of a morality tale, and his vision of this. And I'm going to read a little quote that from his book that speaks to this. He says, because he came out and he said in the press for this that this movie had a deeply religious message. And so he says, this is what he was thinking. For the record, what I was thinking by saying Showgirls has a, quote, deeply religious message was this. At the end of the movie, Nomi Malone turns her back on stardom and leaves Vegas because of the amorality she has seen and experienced there. She's become a star as a result of participating in that amorality, but rejects her stardom and that amoral world and gets back on the road hitchhiking out of town. And then he says, whatever I was trying to do, I admit now that it was a dumbass thing to do. So he doesn't even believe his own.
So he's
fucking
kind of
hype.
painting. He was painting her as like a female taxi driver.
I think he was trying to make her seem like she was some naive waif. And at the very beginning, when she does leave her briefcase
that's pretty
in the
naive.
car,
Yeah.
I'm like, especially what we learned about her later.
That's
like
a Kansas City rube.
If you were a sex worker in New York, then you had to be on high guard for the kinds of people you would have encountered. It was like the fact that she was able to, over again, this very long car ride that we don't see, kind of get into a comfort level and trust that this person was going to get her a job and help her. And then once that happened, there was the level of trust really never returned. So which again, I assume that this is part of how he envisioned the narrative, but so much insane shit happens and so many bizarre people we meet across this that I appreciate that him framing it as a morality tale. And kind of a lesson for those is also his justification for why he said told teenagers to sneak into the film because he thought it would teach them some valuable life lessons. But I think at the end of the day,
I think he's just a dick.
I think he might just be a dick.
He might just be a dick.
Right. Or
we meet some characters in this movie, don't we?
We really do.
I made a list, but
yes.
Can we start with personal faves? Who's got a personal fave?
Well, that's what I want to frame it a little differently.
Okay.
I want to get your respective impressions of who you think the creepiest creep in this movie is. Because we have so many to choose from. And again, I have a list of creeps, and I don't think it's a comprehensive list. It's just a highlights list of creeps. But I like to get your impressions.
I'll let the guests go first.
Let our guests go first, because I feel like I know your pick already, Jeff.
I'm bad with names. I'm pulling up the cast now, so
absolutely
right.
I have them here too, so you're definitely welcome just to kind of start describing someone. I'll tell you who they are.
Phil Newkirk, the guy who. You got to hear
show
Caesar
pervert. Caesar Sing, our boat show pervert.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
The fucking Catalina wine mixer. They took him to the Catalina wine mixer.
The line is, "We'll see Caesar sing, and then we'll sing,"
Right.
Like,
which is
I
made
That guy's
all the
pretty
more
fucking
creepy.
creepy.
Which is made even more creepy by the echoes in half English spoken by
Well,
the Asian businessman who is there with him.
yeah, yeah,
It's
that
just
scene. And then, I mean, obviously, what's his name? Yeah, Andrew Carver, the rape scene. Like
yeah,
oh my
he's clearly
God.
the
That's the
shit.
one that you asked who the creepiest one was? The guy
yeah.
that had 3 dudes rape a woman. That's
Well,
the
yeah,
one.
And then
He's pretty creepy.
he just yells pussy during it. Like
yeah,
what? Just that.
yeah.
I
But
don't want
he
to
seems
laugh
That
at
was a
that
so
scene, but they
complete
were
he
trying
sentence.
to
was
make
so
me laugh.
unnecessary to the story. Like
No
we
rape
were,
scene really is necessary. And that was just one of the most unnecessary I've ever seen in my life.
Extra.
yeah, and it's like he wasn't in the movie up till then, other than like they see his face on a poster and Molly's got a crush on him.
It's like,
Like like
oh.
that.
Yeah, they mention him a
He didn't
couple of
need to be in the
times.
movie at all.
Like I think he sent flowers to one of the showgirls or something too. Like
To
there's
Gina Gershon, to Crystal
yeah.
Connors.
So
Yeah.
there's like a whole row of like mentions, and then all of a sudden he shows up at the end.
The scene is
Uh,
unnecessary. The way Verhoeven, who later said he regretted including that scene in the film, um, his justification at the time was that a lot of what happens in this film allegedly is based on conversations that both he and Esterhaus had with people who worked in Las Vegas. So he was,
sure.
in a sense, trying to tell their stories. Now, I don't know who this guy is supposed to be a stand in for, per se, in terms of Vegas entertainers. I will
Right.
let people go
It may
and
be a
decide.
list.
It may be a
Right.
composite,
It's like,
and it could be a whole lot of candidates for who this could be. It could be Donny Osmond for all I know. All I'm saying is that like that scene is unnecessary, and Nomi's revenge against him, her kickboxing skills suddenly emerging out of nowhere, that's hysterical. That part is funny because
she would kick some ass.
this is not promising young woman. This is not like a revenge fantasy setup. This is just like we have gone down this path to make the only decent person in this film. Molly's the only decent person in this entire movie. To have
Real.
her be assaulted and
Right.
then in such a horrific way and graphically on the screen in a
and
tone
then
shift
and
and
then
then
described by the doctor too. Like
mm,
we know that this thing has happened. We've
Right.
seen her in a hospital bed beat to a pulp. And then a doctor comes in and is like, the following things have happened to her body. Like, I got it, dog.
Yeah,
yeah.
I got it.
we
It was a bad time. Can we move this along, please?
I also think they didn't need to show that scene twice. They saw it starting to happen, and then they cut back to the party that's happening downstairs. We didn't need to go back and see it again.
yeah, it's like we get it. Yeah, that was a lot. And like if we take the crazy insane criminals out of it, I guess the
Mm-hmm.
ones that did that part, I
Mm-hmm.
would say the creepiest uh James was pretty creepy to me because
There we go.
he was very stalky. Like he was stalking the shit out of Nomi. And
Oh, you mean
I,
OG Bobby Johnson?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
guy Glenn Plummer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his whole shtick. It was like, yeah, bro, you're him, Zach, Kyle McLaughlin, like McLaughlin,
Yeah.
Zach. Yeah, he was a insane
That's my vote.
man, busting in his pants in the champagne room. Like, come on,
Dude,
bro.
hey, we need just like a modicum, no pun intended, of self-control.
Violent
Just a
lap
little
dances, bro.
tiniest bit of self-control of like, we may
Violence.
hire this dancer. Please don't jizz your pants. You know what I mean? Like
Like, oops, sorry, couldn't
just
help
like
it.
take it easy, big dog.
He comes in this film more than anybody, which is male gaze to a T. He is absolutely the person who has the most orgasms in the entire film. No
This
question.
this brings up an important point. Um, how is he nutting in that scene in the big sex scene? Because
Wait, which scene?
In
I can
the
watch
in the
the big
pool?
sex scene in the pool. You
Okay,
know what I'm talking
we
about.
need to
The
talk about pool
waterfall
safety.
pool sex scene where it goes from like, oh, this looks like a, kind of a fun, happy time to she's trying to drown
The
herself.
helicopter boobs was the point, I think. And it was just like, okay, well, that's what we're doing. This is
I don't,
violence. This is violence on my screen.
I mean, look, I'm just saying she was a sex worker. And then when it's time to have sex, she's like, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen. That was insane. I was like, maybe there's a thing that I don't know about in Vegas where people try to drown themselves while they're having sex. Maybe it's super hot. I don't know.
Just
But like
around the world and around the
I've
world.
never been more turned off by a sex scene in my
So,
whole
so,
life.
so crazy.
It is the opposite of erotic. And like I watched a lot of Skinamax stuff when I was
Totally.
Yes,
16.
same.
Yeah.
I
Like
was in
Absolutely.
there.
I watched Silk Stockings on USA. I 100%
Lady
knew when I was
Absolutely.
being
Chatterley's
titillated.
lover.
Yeah.
Because that used to
Zane,
come, they used to show that whole thing. Oh,
Red Shoe
Zane. Oh,
Diaries. You know what I'm
Oh
talking
yeah.
yeah.
about. Zalman King. Like, there's a world of this stuff. And I had never seen somebody do that to a dick before
Not even
in my
Shannon
life.
Tweed. They had like crazy weird shit going on in all those movies. I had never seen such a thing. That
Not
shit
at
was
all.
like the opposite of sex.
I bet you they had so many young women when they finally, started having sex, trying to use that move because they saw it in Showgirls.
I mean, that just sounds like an ER visit waiting to happen.
Oh,
I bet it's happened
Oh,
because
I can't.
God.
It hurts to think about.
It does hurt. I will say that none of you have so far cited who I think the creepiest character in this film is.
If you say Jeff, I'm gonna be fucking
It's
furious.
not Jeff because
Okay.
Jeff
nah.
actually was like
He's just a
medium
he's
creepy.
just a dick.
I
I
have
feel
to
like he's a
absolutely
thief.
I have to actually go back to James though because I think James is a very strong candidate for it. He's running this con basically this whole time
Hmm.
where he's trying to get dancers to sleep with him. And by using his background as having some dance experience, and he's stalking, he's showing up to places where he's not supposed to. He watches that scene with Kyle MacLachlan getting dry humped in the champagne room at the
Through the
Cheetah.
slit in the
Yo, the
package.
security at the cheetah is trash. There's
Yeah,
a
they're not
ton of
that good.
people just sitting in the back not paying.
Yo,
Fuck y'all doing?
I'm just saying. And like it's that one big heavy guy who's just like, you're not supposed to be back here. He's like, you gotta
He
pay for
finally,
this.
after he watches like half the scene, the
Finally.
dude's like, "Hey, dude, sorry, I was in the bathroom, but you can't just stand here and watch things.
Yeah, that's not
Move
how
it
this
along."
works. Like that's it. But no, the my pick for the creepiest creep in this entire creepy fucking world is none other than Robert Davi's Al Torres, the show manager at the Cheetah Gentlemen's Club.
Mm.
And my reasons for it can be summed down in a handful of quotes, some of which I will read right now.
All
Um,
right.
he says a number of times, he says, if you want to last longer than a week, he says this to a new dancer, you give me a blowjob.
Hmm.
First, I get you used to the money, then I make you swallow. That is on the level. That is maybe the fourth creepiest thing that he says in this entire film.
hmm
He
There's
has
another.
one line.
Oh, we're gonna get there, don't we?
You're gonna get okay.
Do you want to say
No,
it?
no,
You
no,
can
no. I
say
don't
it if
want.
you really want
I
to
don't
get
want
there.
to. No, I
Like
don't
I
want
want to
to.
say it. I want to say
I
I
don't
just
want to
want
blow
people to
out wad
understand.
early.
I want to be clear on this because it's just I feel like everybody has some really bizarre lines. There are some very
Yeah.
inorganic, artificial, strange sentences that
Yes.
people say in this movie. So many different ones. Not the least
it.
of
It's
which being
almost as if at times people
hmm,
aren't talking to one another.
no, no.
They're just talking.
Main character syndrome in full effect there,
Right.
Absolutely.
They're just not talking to anyone. They're just saying things that are happening in front of them. That's it.
This movie just got a lot better now that we're talking about it in this way.
Now, if they come, it's okay. If they take it out, come all over you, call a bouncer. Unless he gives you a big tip. If he gives you a big tip, it's okay.
Oh my God.
That's like maybe the
Oh,
third creepiest thing he says in the film. But I'm going to jump
Hmm.
right to number one because the
please
number
do.
one
You
creepiest
know
thing
what it is.
is the farewell line. So you might
Oh,
recall when he and our lovely friend from the other uh, club, Henrietta Bazoom show up at to see Goddess, at least to be backstage at the Stardust. When they go there, the last line he says as he gives her a tender goodbye as this absolute creepazoid.
I tear up a
He
little bit every time because
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
a
touching.
wistful farewell where he says his last line is, "It must be weird not having anyone come on you."
It's
It
like, what the fuck?
From the heart, he says that.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't understand anything. And like, I mean, look, any of us who spend any time in a strip club know that kind of guy running the show. But it's like his lack of self-awareness is profound to me. And it makes him to me the creepiest person that we see in this entire movie.
the people that work at that establishment, the Cheetah,
The cheetah, yeah.
are the scene stealers of this film. The Cheetah staff is incredible. Incredible. It's a better, I know you're probably not making as much money and your dream is to be like, you know, a dancer on the larger stage, you know.
In Goddess.
And Goddess.
Uh, but I think the Cheetah is kind of a better job. Listen, Dobby and his creepiness aside,
Mm,
there are a set bunch of rules that everyone's living by.
mm.
And once she gets to the big time,
Stardust.
it is so incredibly obvious that there's sabotage that hurt the one dancer. You know what I'm talking about when they throw a bunch of stuff on the ground and then
The
you know,
marbles.
yeah, the marbles on the
Marbles.
ground thing. Where I'm like, you've had how many shows a day for how long? And this is the first time marbles ended up on the ground. You're like,
Tanya
probably
Harding
fell
shit.
probably
Right.
fell off of someone's uniform. I don't know. We got it. Show must go on. What
Like,
can
come
you,
on, come on,
she
come on.
broke her hip. No investigation
This is
necessary.
showbiz, honey.
They're
Okay?
already navigating monkey feces on the stage to begin with. So like, I mean,
Yeah,
they're not
there's
running the
nothing.
tightest ship.
No. And then on top
But
of
your
it,
boy is at the cheetah. Your
at the
boy
cheetah, he's coming up being like,
tight
okay, I'm
shit.
listening in on things. Does he have the like, is he goodwill of heart? No, of course not.
No,
Absolutely not. He's a creep. But you know where you stand.
it's
Yeah.
true.
You
It's
don't
true.
know where you
Yeah.
stand at this other job, man. Like someone got kicked down a set of stairs and they were like, let's give the person that kicked her down the stairs the job. She's the best one. She's the one that deserves it. She's been here about 2 months.
She's clearly the person for the job.
Obviously.
Absolutely. So
Obviously.
so qualified. Can we take a moment to talk about Goddess itself? We see a
Mm.
lot of this show, obviously cut up in different ways. And I've seen my share of Vegas shows, Cirque du Soleil's, and all
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
What's everybody's impression? What do we think of Goddess as a performance?
My first look at that shit, it was like, is this the live action Futurama? Like, it was very. That was
There
what
were a lot of shiny metal asses.
I was like, holy shit, wait a minute. There's a lot of things getting conjured in my mind. But yeah, oh man, the choreography
Mm,
is just, again, I hate to keep using this word, it was violence. It was
Yeah.
such like choppy and like it's bad. And I just feel like Elizabeth Berkley, she was dancing her heart out, but that's probably the character. But also, I think she was dancing her heart out. And
yeah.
Mhm.
the choreography had to kind of match her ability. Like like did we get Elizabeth Berkley on board to be nude in like a Vegas movie first, or did
I
you
think I
have
know the answer
what
to that
came
question.
first, you know?
I think I know the answer to that question, which is a number of people were in front of the line before her for this role, but the full nudity and the like script, including so much nudity and sexual content, scared off a lot
Hmm.
of a, if you will, A-listers.
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
she matched what their criteria was, which was like she was willing to do all this. She could at least somewhat dance and have like
Right.
prior acting experience is basically what they needed.
Yeah, it's like they fit the numbers to be like she could do them. It wasn't like she was stretching. Gina Gershon too. It's not like she's not a singer dancer. So,
The
but
choreography, you bring up the choreography, and I always want to point out that the choreographer for this, Marguerite Derricks is her name, was also the choreographer for another movie about erotic dancing, Striptease with Demi Moore.
Which to be
Was
classic.
recommended after I finish this one.
immediately afterwards, she was like, "You have to watch this." I'm like, "Well, if you like the choreography in that one, you'll love it in this one." Sure.
Striptease. Now I gotta
Um,
go watch this after
she
that.
also later became
There you
known
go.
for doing all of the choreography in the Austin Powers movies.
They got
Yeah,
some motherfucking softcore pros for this film.
it's
Mm.
numbers. It's numbers.
Everybody had put up big numbers in the Awooga game
Yeah.
before doing this one.
It's like I kind of for me I like I'll take it to optics. I like the numbers. I like the show because it kind of just it brings sense to all of the bullshit. It's like, okay, everyone's coming for Goddess. You come to the Goddess show, we're going to see Goddess. Goddess is the
Absolutely.
hottest. It's the hottest show you've ever
Yo,
fucking
the
seen on the
press
strip.
shows up 3 different times, I guess, to like meet new dancers for the show. They're like,
It's
yo,
everything. It's everything.
it's awful what happened to your last person, but like, tell us all about this new person. That's what we want to focus on. What's going
Yeah.
on with this new dancer? And they're
The-
like, oh, we could have had anybody. We could have had anybody. They give the exact same press conference both times, and the press is like, excellent.
eating
This
it
is
up.
great.
Eating it up.
I just want to point
Everyone's
out
going to go crazy about this.
I just want to point
Hmm.
out the names that they think they could have pulled for this is a
Oh
pretty
yeah.
wild range. They say Janet Jackson.
They
Right.
do.
They say Paula
Like, come on.
Abdul.
In
They say Suzanne
95,
Summers.
In
please.
95. Like we are past that. Janet Jackson, we're talking about Paula Abdul. And then they mention in another scene, Suzanne,
Suzanne
which I
Summers.
have to assume is Suzanne Summers, which
Right.
are people looking for Suzanne Summers
Step by
in
step.
1995?
Step by step.
We're at step by step at this point.
Right.
We watched on a previous episode of this show. We did
She's not going
serious.
on step by step and then showing all that titty.
No,
and,
we
and
we did
cooch. They're showing full. It's full nudity.
It is
full
full.
nudes. She's not doing the Gina Gershon
Thigh
part.
Master
No way.
lady did enough.
She's
No
not
way.
doing what Crystal does. She's not doing what Crystal does. So it's so funny how those are the kind of characters they cite. But Optics, I do want to get back to you because we haven't heard your take. And certainly as somebody who thinks very very much about music and the structure of music, what do you feel about the show itself, Goddess?
About the show. I mean, I feel like it was. I've never been to Vegas, so I'm just watching this. Like the show to me felt like as much of a mess as the movie, where I'm like, we just see this. Like violence, a good way to describe the dancing. Like I'm watching Elizabeth Berkley be like, I can dance, to what's his to
OG Bobby Johnson.
Bobby, to James.
OG Bobby
James.
Johnson. Yeah.
I can dance, and then she does some shit
His
where I'm
name.
like, if somebody said I can dance and did that, I'd laugh. Like, it feels like when everything's basketball for me. Like when somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I can hoop," and then they do some like ridiculous shit, throw it over the hoop, like. But like there's something in there, like they cross, Julian Newman, they do like a really quick crossover and make you think that they're doing something. So yeah, I wasn't impressed. I didn't find the show believable as this big attraction because also I didn't think all the movements were so choppy that it wasn't like sexy, like because the
Not
idea
a
of the
ton
show,
about
like,
this. Is like the
you're
most
going because
nudity.
you want to see everybody naked, and I'm like, I don't want to see them naked doing that.
It's
Like,
it's
we're
the
getting
most
all-
nudity
you
that I've ever seen in the
Period.
least sexy way possible.
Yeah, that sums up the movie.
It's the
like
most nudity I've ever
much
seen.
nudity in a movie?
No, period. Like in my life, it's the most nudity I've ever seen in my life.
It
In a
is a
2 hour
lot of
period,
nudity.
yeah.
Just like I've done,
So
I've been,
much.
I've been to strip clubs in my life. I have
Yes, I
never
mean.
seen anything like this.
Strip clubs in Vegas too, which are a little bit more. I don't actually like the strip clubs in Vegas.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the experience generally. So this is just like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
kind
I'm
of
a
people who
strip
went.
club guy.
Having people who went to the Cheetah, or I went to once, like
That's
once in
crazy.
Vegas. I went to like a show that was like kind of meant to be sort of like a burlesque experience, and
That's
it
see, that's
was that.
sexier.
I had
Much
that.
sexier.
And I've
Yes.
seen a Cirque
Yeah,
du
that's
Soleil
sexier.
choreographed like to the nines, magical performance, these French Canadians contorting their bodies and doing that. But like, I don't think Tony Moss is very good at what he does. For all
Mm.
of his bluster as this producer saying, I'm known as a prick because I am a prick, for all of his shit
And
talk,
the show's great. It's not the star or whatever.
I don't
Yeah.
think he has really any sense of real quality control about whether or not these gals, I should say, and guys and gals, because they don't show the guys so much, but like I don't think
They're
any of them
there.
are doing it. Yeah, they're there. They feel like an afterthought in a lot of ways. The monkeys get more screen time than the male dancers in this movie, and have more lines, I think, too. If I'm being honest, the thing is that his character, which is like one of the last of the core creeps in this, the scene with the ice cubes, for example, I'm erect, why aren't you erect? You know, it's like somebody who has that sort of attitude should be able to back their shit up with a quality
Yeah,
show.
yeah,
And
yeah.
my impression that I'm getting is that this is not a universally uh,
That's the impression that you get.
appreciated. That's the impression that I get. It is. I don't think Tony Moss is as good as he claims to be. I don't think he's that kind of guy. I just don't. And I don't think that these dancers who are meant to be kind of operating in this like dream job, right? This is clearly a desirable place to be. Multiple people show up for the auditions. I don't think that if this is supposed to be the peak of what Vegas talent is at that time, I think there's a good reason why you haven't been to Vegas yet, Optics.
The Cheetah,
Hmm.
better show. Better
Oh,
show. Listen, do you want to
more
go see
creative means
It had
more
comedy.
creativity.
do
It
you
had
want to go
comedy.
see Henrietta be funny and raucous and rude and honking and just doing all kinds of wild stuff? Or you want to go see these people flitter around in terrible uniforms?
Like highbrow. It's like people in the
Yeah,
front just
like,
like, ooh, like
oh,
old
there's a volcano
people.
erupting. Oh.
Yeah,
Or do you want to just
crazy.
get down to brass tacks and see these people dance
Well,
erotically?
Well, Jeff, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you've basically just echoed James's argument in this film. Essentially,
Mm,
you're siding with one of the top creeps in the film
top
by making that
creep.
According
point,
to you,
according to more than one person on this
No.
call.
according to you, he's the creepiest. I think he's like the fourth creepiest.
No, the
He's like
creepiest is
dancing ain't fucking.
yeah.
He doesn't stalk anybody.
You're gonna get HIV. Well, it wasn't even
Well,
HIV.
you,
Like,
He's
girl,
not
what?
raping anybody. So that's two right there
I
that I
I
think are
mean,
worse.
okay, fine. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Top
a
creep, definitely the circuit, the magic dude.
Listen, it's Las Vegas.
uh,
This version of Las Vegas that they've painted is nothing but creeps.
Can we spend a moment because we've spent a lot of time talking about the fellas in this movie
Mm.
and how awful they are. But can we talk about this dynamic that exists between Nomi and Crystal?
Yes.
Ugh,
Um,
ugh,
can we
please.
just get a sense?
The
And I'm going
hottest,
to ask,
aka the only part of the movie that's hot.
I want to ask
Gina
Crystal about
Gershon,
this.
bro.
I want to ask Crystal about this because I think that
Yes.
we have to get this perspective because I watched this and I'm sitting here going, why are these people doing this to each other? Do they like each other? Do they hate each other? Do they love each other?
Uh,
What's happening? Help me understand this dynamic. What is happening here?
it's rare at its finest. It's very much like that fucking bitch, and like you're so hot, and like I want to be you. I want to be like because that's the narcissistic shit about if you're gonna be like a hot gay, you know, you might find another hot gay or gay adjacent and be just hot with. Probably not gonna fuck, but it's gonna be
Probably.
probably
It could happen
uh
thow.
yeah, and they even did. He just like shh.
Mm.
But like no, it's just like that fucking like I hate this bitch, but I kind of love
Frenemies.
it.
I
Yeah, very, that is so it's more rare than it's funner, more fun to talk. It's very you can tell a dude wrote this because it was just
Yeah,
like, girl,
that's what I was
what?
gonna say.
And
Yes.
also, this is like the price of admission, right? You want to see Gina Gershon, who goes on to do another gay icon film. What is it? Bound. Oh,
Bound, yeah.
Yeah.
come on.
With
Don't
the
give me
Wachowskis, yeah.
don't get me started on that one. Like talk about an awakening. It's like, hold on now. What is happening?
She also, and I'm going to add a third movie to the Gina Gershon Awakening discography, and that's
Yeah.
Demon Lover.
Oh,
Yes.
In
yes.
Demon
Just
Lover,
Wow.
once again,
that's her whole shit. Like, it's
it's
just like, okay, I'm gonna be like the gay as hell. Like, what the hell is this?
like
Sex just for sex.
how much of that is typecasting, and how much is that like, oh, these are the roles I want to play. This is what I want to do
I
on
think
I
screen.
maybe
mean, probably a little column A, a little column B on that, right?
I mean,
there you
salute.
go.
I mean, you choose your roles, man, and I respect that. But yeah,
But
it does. Yeah,
Crystal Connors is horrible. She's horrible. She'll do anything to get to the top.
which is why to me I was so surprised by their final scene together in the
Mm.
hospital, in this soundstage ass hospital that looks like it was they ran out of budget just in time for these scenes.
Oh,
You know, it-
they went down the road and went to like general hospitals,
Yeah,
like
can
yeah,
taping
we borrow it
facilities.
for?
They're like, "Yo, can we just borrow a hospital from y'all?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
need not
We're
even a
not shooting
hospital.
right now, so go
They
ahead."
needed a bed. They didn't even need a
Yeah.
hospital. They needed a
Hmm.
bed. These are beds
Just
in
bring the
drab
balloons. Just bring
rooms.
the balloons. The balloons.
But like as much as I am over here suspending my disbelief throughout this ride, this journey, this morality tale, if you will, Joe Esterhaus, there's this moment where the person who has grievously injured you
Hmm.
enters unprompted your hospital bedroom. You are alone with this person, and you're not alarmed, you're not calling for the nurse, you're not screaming, thinking this person is about to put a pillow over your face and end you. Like that scene to me is where I had a really hard time,
That's
and it
where I
comes,
learned it was a
That's
fantasy.
what that was it.
well, it comes,
That's where I
no,
learned it was a
no,
fantasy. I was like, "Wait.
well, it
This
comes,
bitch just threw you down a set of stairs." And you're like, it was bound to happen. It
She was
was
like, I
not
knew it. She was like,
bound
I
to
did it
happen.
I did it to the last bitch. I was just waiting.
but
Like,
And then just
but
self
you're
snitches.
immersed at that point. But you're immersed at that point.
Yeah.
You've spent hours in this crazy space. So you almost are sitting there being like, yeah, Elizabeth Berkley, she definitely is a kickboxer. Like she's actually like she's fucking John Wick. This totally makes sense. Which is why that reconciliation scene
Mm.
at the end, that farewell, suddenly feels like, wait, are we like
I'm like, what the hell?
And it's an afterthought for her. They go out of their way to show this, and it drives me crazy for some reason.
Mhm.
But she's like leaving the hospital. She's like, yo, she walks into her, her ace homie's room and is like, I beat the shit out of your rapist. I like laid him to waste.
yeah.
And looked like I was dancing while I was doing it. It really was a dream come true.
Some of the
And
best
then
choreo.
Yeah,
absolutely that scene, she looks incredible beating that guy's ass. I'm like, this should have been a superhero movie.
Yeah.
She rolls out of there and is like on her way out of the hospital, presumably to go thumb a ride to Los Angeles, I guess we're supposed to
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know what? I should go see that bitch I threw down the stairs.
Yeah.
I should make a quick stop and just see
A
how
couple people to see.
this woman I threw down the stairs is doing and kind of like maybe hash it out. Terrible idea. Terrible idea. It's not a good idea, Nomi. You got lucky.
Yeah, he did.
You got real lucky that she wasn't just like, yeah, oh, absolutely no, don't worry about it. And like call the cops right there and be like, that's
Right
her.
there. Yeah.
That's her.
That's the one.
He's the one that threw me down the stairs.
There.
Right, like
There's always someone younger and hungrier that
Yeah.
that was
rode you
my
down the
shit.
stairs.
Hold on, I feel like I wrote that down in all caps. There's always someone younger and hungrier coming down the stairs after you. Like, I know that's right, Crystal. She knew it. She was like, shit. She knew her time was coming, and that's why it is a morality tale, because she's so wise, you know? She's like, I already knew this was gonna happen.
Yeah, did she like Yoda her own hip injury? Is that what happened? She Yoda her own hip injury. That's incredible.
Yeah, she just knew and you know what? She works too hard. You know, she needed a little rest.
Yeah.
I actually love how they tried to cover it. We were like, yo, I got a big settlement. I'm gonna just hang out.
Yeah, she's like, I got
I write my
paperwork.
autobiography. I don't know. It's going to be a hell of a year. Also, I'm going to nurse myself back to health because I only have one hip. I broke one.
Big
So,
yikes.
but we'll look past that because I got a big settlement. Like every day, I wish I never got any kind of settlement, and I had
I
like a healthy wrist. That would be
not
awesome.
not to get political here, but we have recently experienced somebody who suffered a serious injury, and I think regardless of settlement,
Oh no.
had to
Oh
take
no,
matters into their
Gary.
own hands to deal with the situation. So I don't believe that somebody was going to be so content sitting in their hospital bed, being like, the
Right.
settlement I'm getting from these guys is going to be enough for the pain and the long-term care I'm going to need in my life for
That's
this.
100%.
Like that's really short-sighted for somebody who seemed to be seeing all the angles throughout this movie. I don't feel like Crystal Connors goes out like that. But clearly we were seeing Nomi was about to be set up like that. The young woman who's behind her saying, can I be your understudy? It's like, oh,
And
what is she
she's
Oh,
going to be
already,
doing?
yeah,
see?
she's already taken out another
See?
dancer.
She will kill
Yeah.
again.
She's the one
Yep.
that gave Nomi the idea.
It's cutthroat. So
She
I
was like,
think
damn.
I
Listen,
think you do get that.
competitive erotic dancing has long been, and we all know it, and I'm glad it's getting out in the open now,
Mm.
has
Mhm.
long been too violent behind the scenes.
Glad it
In this
is.
I mean,
film,
it's shining a light on it, I'm glad.
the club fight scene, we got to get a little of that
Oh
in here
yeah. Oh,
because
the club
the
fight scene.
club
Yeah, yeah.
fight scene is phenomenal. Like, dude gets
Yes.
thrown into somebody, and it's not even like he took out like six people. They just kind of run into each other, and the guy has to step forward, and he turns around and is like, "What the fuck?" Pop! And then everyone sees somebody get punched and goes, "I've just listen. I only come here for the fight. I don't come here to dance. I am
I,
here for when someone
The
throws a punch.
brawl.
I'm going in. It's brawl time."
I only had one explanation for that moment and how that escalated so quickly, and it's just good old fashioned racism. People come to Vegas from their little white towns, and a black person steps on their shoe, and that's it. Then it's a fight. Like I saw that as exactly that. Like the guy gets fired for that because of that incident.
Literally.
Like gets fired because like it's like the patch happened. Now, fortunately, we learned that he's not a good person. That he's not actually a good guy. So you're not rooting for him.
No, I like
But
it's
like,
almost like he's
but in
not
the
a person at
beginning,
all.
none of these people, these are characters in a
Yeah.
fantasy world. There's no real people. Not even Jeff is real in this movie.
Listen, he like the stalking thing comes from the fact that not only is he there at everything she does, he's like right there, being like, "Hi, I'm right here." Uh, he also like absolutely refuses to take no for an answer.
Hmm.
There
He
is no
refuses.
amount of no
The
that he
only
would
no he
give.
has is for black women.
Yes,
Sorry.
Basically.
yes.
He only fucks white women. And there was a part where he kind of like made it known, like she was standing there with with Molly, and he was just like completely ignoring her ass. I was like, oh James, like you are in it. You are in
Like
it.
the trailer belongs to Molly. Molly picks her up from the jail when she gets bailed out. Like and could they don't ever share a line, those two characters never speak to each
At
other
all.
at any point in this film. So we can add misogynoir to this on top of misogyny. We can add
Yes, it's just
misogynoir on
like,
top.
girl, what?
We're
It
we're
passes.
just
I think it passes the Bechdel though.
when does it get back to us? At
When they're
any
only
point,
when they're talking about destroying each other, Gary.
I
When
suppose.
when two women are talking about tearing each other down, they're not
Hmm.
talking about a dude.
I guess that's true.
That's all
I
I'm
guess
saying.
no, you're weirdly that's
But
correct.
wait, he impregnates old girl, and now
Yeah.
he's gonna quit dance, quit his life to
Mhm.
work in his baby's mama's grocery store.
Grocery store, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
admittedly, like, but let's
He's
just
the
be
only
fair. Like,
character that got their own character arc outside of Nomi.
it's 100% true, and he also you have to look at it like, I mean, yeah, is that the worst break he could end up with? This man clearly couldn't hold down jobs. he was falling between these
That
things
dance
each time.
routine was fucking terrible.
It was
That
so
wasn't
bad.
bad.
It
Thank
was
you.
They were like,
terrible.
get boo,
It was terrible when she dry humped him to it, and it was terrible. It was terrible when the other white women were doing it.
I
It
wrote
was
this for
just
you, baby.
not a good fucking dance routine. Sorry, I've gone and seen some dance, different
Yeah.
types, all of it
I like
better
when we
than what I saw.
watch Nomi like learning it, and
She learned it so
kind of
quick.
yeah.
This is her like learning thing too. Whenever she's learning something, she goes,
She's like, I got it. I got it.
"Okay, cool."
Yeah, she
I
does
just
like
had
a
to do my
small version
superpower.
of it.
He goes 1, 2.
Bro.
Yeah,
Yo.
I'm like, so my sister did like ballet and stuff like that, and was really. I want to like ask her to watch those too. Like, hey, does this make any sense?
I mean, what a question to ask your sister.
already know.
Like, how would you like to?
Yeah.
Can you tell me the
Family
how
Christmas coming up
accurate?
soon.
How
I
accurate?
know what I need to ask.
You
How
got to
accurate
watch
is
the
this?
NC. Just make sure you're getting the NC-17 version.
Yeah,
for the
needs to
family.
see it
I'm
all.
not. I'm not putting my nephews onto any bullshit. We're going
No.
into
I appreciate that. They got to know that pool sex is dangerous.
Please.
And also, don't pour expensive champagne on this human being in a pool. It immediately is gone. There's
Gone.
no way that you tasted any champagne. She went right under the water.
Not a
I
lick.
can't front.
Come on.
I poured a lot of champagne on
Mm.
some people.
Alright.
So.
Oh, that's tight.
in a pool.
But in a pool?
In a pool, no. In
Yeah, because it's
So-
pointless.
Would you do
Why
it in a
would
house?
you do it in a pool?
I did
Would
it in the
you
shower. I did
do
it
it
in
with
the
a
shower.
mouse?
In the deep end of a
Yeah,
pool.
right.
Shower counts.
Yes.
None of it
It's-
makes sense. You know,
Jeff
you're just
T-
wasting. Not
No, no,
expensive
You're in the
champagne.
moment.
You know
You're in the
what?
moment.
I will say I'm
Sparkling
speaking out of
wine.
turn.
Sparkling wine, not expensive champagne. Cheap
I'm
shit.
I'm speaking out of turn because I haven't poured champagne on anyone. And you know what? When you speak out of turn, sometimes you look foolish. I get
No,
it.
it's okay, but
I get it now. You do it in water
It's
for
just
whatever
supposed to,
reason.
yeah, it's just supposed to be hot. The cleanup is not as bad, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
Fair.
Or
That's
that
a
shit
fair
in the middle of the
point.
room, like, well, who's gonna clean this shit up?
All right.
You know?
So
Rich people got people to do that though. Kyle MacLachlan, that
Yeah.
wasn't Kyle MacLachlan's character, which by the way,
mm,
I hate that character with all of my heart.
His
For
hair,
all of the reasons. Like everything about him was so annoying. To the acting style, everything was awful about that character. I feel like I had to get that out.
I want to
But
talk
that
about.
dude, that wasn't the first time he threw champagne on somebody.
No, it was not. It was
and,
definitely
and,
not.
and he has plenty of cleaning staff that's going to take care of it for him.
For sure, he's the entertainment director at the Stardust.
yes,
The Stardust, guys.
At the Stardust.
That's
Just saying.
class.
Speaking
wait,
of cast, well, no,
Yeah.
go.
I want to say one last thing about James
Please.
being creepy as hell.
Let's do it.
He checked her period panties.
He did check.
He checked. Yeah.
That fast tracks you to the creep list.
You know,
Oh,
in
man.
my experience in life, when a woman has told me she's on her period, I've just followed the old model: believe women. Just if she's telling you that, believe it. It
How
doesn't matter
many
if it's
women
true or
are
not.
lying to this guy about having their period?
No, so many.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
so-
Like if you've got to
so
check
many.
panties, if you've got to check
So many.
panties,
He's like,
then
I don't care.
you've
Even
been
though,
broken
you know-
down by this before. Perhaps there can be a learning moment here.
And then he said, "I've got towels."
Exactly. No
Yeah,
learning moment
which,
happens.
But there are very, not to get too graphic. A lot
Yeah,
of
I mean,
us have done. That's
I
happened.
won't say I've never said that.
Right,
That was the most
right,
believable
you know.
line of the movie.
Look,
You know.
we are all adults on this conversation. None of us
Exactly.
naive children. We are adults.
But not with like a dance routine that you like wrote for everybody. Your community dig.
Right.
You finally get her like, oh, we're then that's already like, oh, where are we going? Oh, my place. Like, okay,
Yeah.
so now you're just about to go on full creep mode.
And like right after a hamburger too. Like it's not even like, you know,
She
you're
was
having a
eating
real
that hamburger.
filling. Like this is somebody who mostly wanted to eat junk food anyway. So like
Yeah.
she's just so like there's no version of this where it's like, I don't know, like how are you
There
a
was fixation
dancer?
with potato chips.
Chips is a real big deal. Yeah. I was starting to think about like that's meant to
Yeah,
represent
food
like,
is
a
weird
sort of
in this movie.
I thought it just meant like her immaturity, right? Like that this person is immature. Like that the way she eats is she eats like a child, which eats like a
Right.
teenager would. She eats burgers and chips and snack foods. Like
in the
that's
moving in the moving beautiful expensive car is just like up like
Tearing
the
up that
whole
shit.
sandwich is like the whole hamburgers
Violence.
getting
Everything with her is
crushed.
violent.
Just like she's so much. This movie is the wildest, most over the top thing. It
That's why
really is
Crystal should have never took her to Spago. You know what I'm saying?
real.
no,
That is real
You
talk.
don't waste
no.
Wolfgang Puck on this bitch who just wants chips and fucking burgers.
Yeah, I didn't understand. Everybody's trying to spoil this person, and this person honestly would have like worn tin cans if you told her to. It doesn't matter.
If you said they were Versace, she would.
Versailles
Mercedes. Just admit it.
and
This
my
movie was
guy.
it. I will say this: the movie, intentionally and unintentionally, was hilarious.
Just so good.
I hurt from laughing at the second time I watched it,
Oof.
and I knew like, okay, I know what happens here, and I know what is important and what isn't. Oh, it was hilarious. It was
So
absolutely hilarious.
this brings me to the final question, which is
Yeah, because
truly what
this could go on
because
and
this could
on.
go forever. But this
a wild film.
podcast has a mission at its heart, and there's a question that exists in this. The core that's core to it
Mhm.
is this? We know this is a bad movie. We've established this in the very beginning of this conversation.
Mhm.
Is this a good bad movie? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I'd watch it again. It's so funny. It's I laugh enough for, different reasons, but I laugh enough. I am entertained. I'm enjoying myself, even at just as how awful it is. Rape scene, like that's not, I'm not talking about that. I did not enjoy that, but
Yeah,
everything
again,
else,
quick warning for you if you haven't seen Showgirls and you go in, the
trigger warning.
denouement is outlandish. All
Yeah.
kinds of wild shit that has never been introduced all of a sudden is of wild
It,
importance and it is going to get aired the fuck out. It's crazy.
yes. But yeah, I think so. I would say yes, good, bad.
Yeah, I think it's a little too long for me to be like, I just watched this. But it does have, it has very clippable, classic, bad moments that are just hilarious. So I think there's that element there of watching it to laugh at it.
Jeff, what about you? What's your thoughts?
I want to go. I want to go last. Gary, what do you
You
think?
want to go last. You're really holding out over here
A
about your.
I
diva
am.
over
You're holding
here.
out.
He wants to know so bad. He's been dying to
I'm
know what I
dying to
think
know.
of the film.
He has been withholding information from me. I think this is the quintessential good bad movie. I gave this a whopping 5 stars on my letterboxd. I had to immediately fell in love with the
You think
insanity.
it's a five
I
star, one
love
star
it.
movie?
This is a 5 star, 1 star movie.
For
No
one
Yes.
star
question.
movies, it's a 5 star movie.
It's
Yeah,
like the
and like
worst meal you can eat,
oh my
know?
Mhm.
God. It's like think about the place from your childhood that you know the quality of the food was terrible, but in your mind you're just like, I would love to
Charburger.
taste that again. I want to
Absolutely.
taste that again. And this movie, I want to go back. I'm gonna watch it again.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
definitely gonna see it. I'm not gonna do it tomorrow, but I
Sure,
am
sure.
gonna go
Give it
back
some
to this film
time.
at
Give
some
it some
point.
time.
I'm going back to it because, and the thing is, my brain has already retained so much from this film on 2 viewings, but like it's retained esoteric shit. Like one of the first things you see when they get to Vegas is a sign, which is across from the Riviera, and it says huge strawberry shortcake, $1.50.
Oh
And
yeah.
Mm.
that is burned into my brain. I will always think about that when I think about this movie. It has no connection to the plot. And that to me is like when there's something like that, when that kind of detail burns and burrows into my brain, that's a good bad movie.
It's good stuff.
Jeff, speak now.
Or I could forever hold my peace.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
Ah!
anything
Oh
about this
wow.
fucking
How
movie. I
existential.
watched it twice. I had seen it before, I think. I'd seen at least some of it before on HBO. And I
Yeah.
just, what the fuck is this movie? What the fuck is this movie? It's not a satire. It's not a musical. We talked a lot about what it's not. but I don't know what it is. Who is supposed to be the fucking story holder? Who matters? Who doesn't? Why does he come into a scene and the rap on Davi is him saying it must be weird not to get cum all over you?
Mm.
Exit, Robert. That's a rap on Davi. Like my one of my favorite
Chef's
characters in
kiss.
the film walks out having said this, and it means nothing. And it all of it means nothing. They make out a couple or like kiss a couple of times, and then immediately are like, "Let's destroy one another." Immediately, I mean, it's just nonsense.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's a movie at all.
Wait, okay. Now we're really talking.
No.
Now we're really talking now.
Now you're
Is
just
this a
being
is it a movie? You know?
It's just
Is
it's a
it
movie.
it's
Two and a
just
half hours.
it's
It's a
just two and a
movie.
half hours of people reacting to things they see.
No.
It's
It's this
so
is
weird.
this is what we used to call a thrill ride. This is a thrill ride.
this
I
is
had a
cinema.
blast. I had a
If
blast.
if I had to vote, I'd go good bad.
Good.
I'd
Good.
go
Listen,
good bad.
we snuck into Ford City. Me and my friends, my friend Jamel back in the day. He was a little bit older and he had the plug at Ford City. They had like 12 different theaters. We snuck into so many movies there. We snuck into this one and we're all like, ooh, this is making me feel weird inside, It's just so much sex as a teenager. Then they had it on bootleg, VHS. So we would watch it on that. Never not good. Watched it again a few years ago. Was laughing haha all through it. Watched it again on what's today? Thursday, Tuesday. Watched it again on Tuesday. Chef's kiss, except for the rape scene. It's Chef's kiss bad. It's Chef's kiss
I'm with it
bad.
only in that like it's for me a good bad movie, honestly. It gets at the core of like, is this thing entertaining? Is
Yes.
it entertaining me? And I watched it twice and I can say I'm entertained. I don't know what this thing is, but it was an entertaining thing. And I count it in the like run of incredible, outlandish Paul Verhoeven movies,
Oh yeah.
like of the
No
best
question.
ones. I would put it with the best ones, even though it's not near the quality of the other like four that I love. Do you think if they had hired any of the other women that they had in front of Elizabeth Berkley, if they had been willing to do what she did, would it have been a better movie?
That's a tough one, man. I dodged a lot of your questions earlier, but I think I can probably answer this one.
Hmm.
There was a lot of casting stuff, not just for
Hmm.
Elizabeth Berkley, but as Nomi. But Gina Gershon was not the first pick for this either. So there's a lot of like fantasy casting we can posit. Elizabeth
Yeah.
Berkley's
Okay.
character, no, I think the most famous and likeliest to have had this role, other than her prior to this, would be Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore.
She was, according to Joe
I know Pam Anderson was
Esterhaus's.
on that list too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on the list who you recognize names, but like Joe Esterhaus said that things got on further in conversations, and there was some conflict with the director of Verhoeven about that selection. And the idea was there was a version of this film that at one time existed where it would have been Drew Barrymore as Nomi and Sharon Stone as Crystal.
Oh
And
man, that would have been
Ver
excellent.
Verhoeven's grievance, apparently, according to Esterhaus in his memoir, uh, is that he didn't think that either of them could sing or dance. Well, here he said he thought that Drew Barrymore couldn't act, and he thought that Sharon Stone couldn't dance, or vice versa, one of the two. He says as much in there. So his position is that they're not qualified to do that. However,
But what he was essentially saying was, if your mama don't dance, then your daddy don't rock and roll.
yes, but I want to. take a step back because there was another person
Shut up,
who
boys.
was very far along in the process of this. So much so
Can I
that
guess?
she was giving script notes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Julie Roberts.
No,
Boom. That's
no,
who it was.
no.
I'm just gonna believe
Uh,
it was.
it's Madonna.
That makes a lot of sense.
So keep in mind, this is somebody
And
who
she had done the nude stuff in the book and everywhere else.
she could do. We know that she could do the nudity,
Yeah.
and we knew that she could dance. In fact, the
Real and
person,
singing too.
the woman in the film who plays Gay, the choreographer for the show, the
Yeah.
choreographer for Goddess,
Yeah.
she was in real life the choreographer for Madonna's "Who's That Girl" tour.
Whoa.
Like this was somebody who had actually worked with Madonna, so it would have been plausible.
You know
But as
what?
but as anybody who's ever seen Body of Evidence
Right.
knows, Madonna cannot act.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess that is a problem. I
So I
don't
don't
know
know.
I don't know if it's a problem or not
Yeah,
because, this film it's not like I walked away from this thing being like the performances were unbelievable. A lot of them were pretty bad.
yeah,
I'm not blaming the actors or anyone. I don't know why.
mhm,
I just know that that's also something that camp does.
sure,
Serial Mom's the same way,
mhm,
Starship Troopers.
yeah,
He does this. He does a thing where he's like, I want a certain type of person, and there will be sacrifices made because of it.
yeah,
Fair enough. I love the dude, and this is just a testament to the fact you could talk about this movie forever.
ever.
What a pick! Why do we
I
give people such awful movies when there are fun ones out there?
I feel like we have a bent, and I couldn't have imagined us doing this episode without somebody like Psalm One on the episode. Like it just we needed somebody who could speak to this film. We needed somebody who could do it
Yeah,
justice. I could
yeah.
not have just done this with just anybody. Well,
Let
I
me
wouldn't
ask
have
you
done it with
this.
anybody.
Let me ask you this.
Hmm,
Maybe I'm off base here.
okay.
It seemed like there were a lot of titties in this film. Is that just me? Am I the
You
only
learn
one that noticed?
It's the Cabbages Podcast Network.